Thank you. Any other member wish to debate? I recognize the Minister for Education, Honourable Sharie Castro.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak very briefly, given the vast debate that has taken place since yesterday. It would be remiss of me not to just speak to the importance of this bill being before us, as echoed by a number of members in the House, but also speaking very fervently to the reality that we do have to do some surgery on the bill in order for it to come out in a form that would be balanced and that would be welcomed by the territory. I do want to commend the House for just being proactive in having this bill before us, because as stated, I believe there has been some trepidation and different things that would have caused persons over the years to not want to proactively at least seek to remedy some of the issues that we face. But given the world that we live in, we have a responsibility as members of this House to use our collective intelligence and expertise to seek to see how we could frame laws that ultimately protect our people, but also exemplify a level of safety in our community. I think we have to be very cognizant of the reality of whether our people feel safe and what crime has done to really invade the safety, the privacy, the homely feeling that our communities are known for. And so, Madam Speaker, I support the reality of, as stated, giving the police the tools that they need, but I also support the reality that the police must work with integrity and they must ensure that they do things in the right way. I was sitting there where my colleagues were thinking, and I have been seeking to figure out how, when I go to schools and I ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up, how I get more of them to say teachers. And I think we're doing a good job, we're getting there, but I was just reflecting about how many hands I actually see go up and say, I want to be a police officer. And Madam Speaker, to be very frank, there aren't many. And that's the reality that we must face even in this conversation. How many persons in our community trust the system of policing in the territory? How much of them see themselves becoming a part of that system in any way, whether it's through the DPP's office or through the police or being a defense attorney, whatever it is? How many of them actually believe that they can create impact in that area? And I believe this law before us is the mechanism by which we could at least begin to put things in place to make persons inherently comfortable, not just the persons in our community to be safe, but persons who are seeking to consider the career paths that they may want to enter, how they themselves would be safe in this type and line of work. Because inherently, you don't want to get into something that you feel can endanger yourself or your family. And so, Madam Speaker, I do believe that we have an opportunity in a number of ways here with this bill to really put things in place. Yes, to ensure, as I said, the police have the tools that they need. Yes, to ensure that technology enhances the work that is done in policing and securing our territory, but also to make sure that persons' human rights are not put in danger, and also to make sure that persons don't feel that this clause that is stated regarding immunity gives persons the unchecked freedom to do as they please. I think in the committee stage, we have to make sure that we do some work specifically in that area, because everybody has to play by certain rules. And the police ensures that the community adheres to rules, and we cannot allow the police to not abide by rules. It's an inherent conflict. You uphold the law, And you ensure that people uphold the law, but you yourself must ensure that you uphold the law. And I think inherently that's a balance that we have to create in this act when we bring it out of the committee stage. And Madam Speaker, just briefly, I'll say, because of the portfolio that I hold, and I have the member sitting next to me as well, there's just a reality that as we advocate to give the police the tools that they need, we also must make sure that we shore up our infrastructure in education and even in social development, in youth development, to make sure that we don't allow persons to become victims of the system, but that we, through rehabilitative efforts, but even more so through proactive measures, make sure that we do not have persons deciding to choose a life of crime. There are other alternatives, and we have systems that we have to really shore up to make sure that, because it's a choice, right? And the Premier spoke about yesterday the reality that some of these behaviors are seeping into our schools in ways that we don't want to even conceptualize. And the ministry has taken a zero tolerance approach to serious crime, and we will continue serious misbehavior and in some instances crime that occurs within our schools. And we have to be very careful as lawmakers in terms of the decisions that we make here regarding these bills, because we do have a generation that is coming up, and some of them are being swayed seriously by the strong hands of crime that are seeking to use our young people as conduits to discharge serious crime in our territory. And so we have to make sure that we create opportunities and access for them to see that there's a different way. Whatever that avenue is, we can all, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so much out there, but it would be remiss of me not to, in this setting, state that we cannot just put 100% of the funding or the support behind of the police and not really look at the social fabric that causes persons to want to enter this type of lifestyle, and how do we ensure that as many as practicable do not seek to go down that road. So, Madam Speaker, I look forward to the committee stage, where I am certain this bill will come out in a much better state than it came in. And I believe that we have the collective intelligence and expertise in the House to be able to make it into what is necessary to ensure that we increase safety and increase confidence in the system of policing and the justice system within the territory, so that persons begin to feel safe again. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute, and I look forward to the deliberations in committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.